Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin Murray, and Tom Hayes.
We've been really good offensively. We got the big hits at different times. We had that one inning where we had the bases loaded, one out, maybe could have grabbed a couple more there. Eli came up with a big hit, battled, a couple of defensive things that probably cost us a run or two here and there. And, Jake pitched all right, did some good things. They got some decent swings off them, and you just got to find some answers at the very end. We're a little thin there.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, on a Tuesday night from downtown Columbia Main Street. Phil Kornbluth and the Professor Tom Hayes and the state man Graham Pope. And Kevin McCrary, K-Mac, is off tonight. The man gets more nights off than Johnny Carson. I don't know how that worked out in his contract, but I give his agent credit for being able to pull that kind of power.
Well, he's off, but he's not off because he's got, 5 women in his house?
That's true. I think he'd rather be here. Anyway, he is away on some family duties tonight. He'll be back with us tomorrow night. 800-956-7266, the number here on Sports Talk. If you would like to join us here early in the program, early and often, we'll open up the phone lines, 800-956-7266, the number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. On Twitter, SportsTalkSC is how you can reach us. Pretty wide open for calls. Right now on the program, Mike Morgan will be here with the Braves Report in our next hour. Chip Weil from Darlington will join us in the bottom of the next hour to talk about his good buddy's win at Talladega, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and other things related to NASCAR. Right now, Clemson is underway against Wofford in their baseball game in Spartanburg. Scoreless in the first inning there, top of the first inning. Clemson coming off a loss to Louisville Pro, so they lose that series to the Cardinals, and it's the pressure is building, no doubt about it, on both Jack Leggett and Chad Holbrook as this regular season winds to a conclusion because their teams just aren't getting it done.
Well, they're not getting it done, and you just have to toss it up and say it's one of those seasons. I mean, but the weird thing about it is I'm not so certain that Clemson hadn't played some of his best baseball this weekend. They just played a superior team. And I agree with Jack Leggett. He said you look at Louisville, and they keep coming out with arms. Even when the game is close, they bring in people to keep it close. And that's what Louisville did in the last 2 games. Of course, Crownover was incomplete in the first game. Mm-hmm. And Louisville just brought out pitcher after pitcher that gave them time to win in the late inning.
And yesterday they brought out bat after bat. They hit 4 home runs. They were indeed the Louisville Sluggers last night at Doug Kingsmore. Regardless of what you're saying, Tiger fans aren't happy. Gamecock fans aren't happy with the way their baseball season is going
Do
either.
Something else.
Well, they expect more. They don't expect a drop-off.
But here's the drop. If you get a drop-off and you panic and you get somebody, everybody thinks, get somebody better. You could get someone worse. So watch yourself out. Check Tennessee, for instance.
We'll be right back. It's Sports Talk from downtown Columbia. Sports Talk, your Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. State's most listened to Sports Talk show on a nightly basis, 6 to 8, here on South Carolina Radio Network. Glad to have you with us wherever you are dialed in. If you're out for a little walk this afternoon, maybe out for a drive, maybe hitting a little golf ball or a little tennis ball or anything like that, and you got us tuned in, we certainly appreciate it. Love to hear from you, 800-956-7266. If you've got something sporting-wise you want to share with us to get it off your mind, you are more than welcome to join us with a comment or question, your praise, your criticism, though I don't know what there is to criticize. All that welcomed here tonight on Sports Talk. 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. Don't forget the website as well, which is sportstalksc.com, where our poll question is after the nation in defense last season, where will Clemson finish this season? Top 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 40, or 50 or higher? And so far, those who have voted, 34% are predicting between 20 and 40. Which, you know what, with their offense, if the Tigers defensively finish in the top 40, that should make for a pretty decent combination because they're going to score points. There's no doubt they're going to score points with this offense.
Mm-hmm. I still want to think of the fact that people want to separate the two, and I've always thought they work in concert. So early on, and I know they're not going to do it because they're going to keep the offense they have, but early on with those bevy of backs they have, I would just score quickly and then just grind the bejesus out of defenses and just say, okay, here's our best defense right now early for our young defensive players. Look, their quarterback is standing on the sideline with a clipboard. He can't score from there. Mm-hmm. And with their running game, Florida State used to do that. They jump on you by 2 or 3 touchdowns. That's what Spurrier did at Florida, jump on you by 2 or 3 touchdowns and then just grind the ball on you. And then once you try to bunch everybody in the box to stop the run, then they hit you up top again. And I could see Clemson doing that early.
All right, Clemson has jumped on top of Wofford. It's 3-0 in the top of the first inning. Reed Roman had a 2-run single in this Clemson rally to open the ball game. So a terrific start for Clemson against a Wofford team that's been playing some very good baseball to date. And the Tiger lineup looks pretty much as it has been looking here of late. Does not appear to be any major changes. Cox is in at first base tonight. Kerner pitching for the Tigers this evening, and he'll be staked to an early lead. Wofford comes to Columbia tomorrow night to take on the Gamecocks, while tomorrow night, I think Clemson has another game tomorrow night. Don't they play? Is it Charleston they play tomorrow night?
12 games in the next 15 days.
Let me see here. After Wofford, College of Charleston comes to Clemson. Then they have a day off. Then they have Georgia Southern in for 3 to close out their home schedule. Hard to believe the baseball season is rolling to a close. To your phone calls in just a moment. Frank Martin announced today that 3 players are leaving the team. Of course, you knew about Demetrius Henry. He did announce as well that Shepard will not return, nor will Reggie Theus. So the exodus from the USC basketball program continues. So you look at the Gamecock roster as it stands right now. They have 3 seniors in Coshinus, Hakavicius, and Carrero. This is for next year, of course. 3 juniors, Thornwell, Mackey, and Notice. Stroman will be the sophomore. Blanton will be a redshirt freshman. And right now, they've got 3 players signed incoming. Silva, Dozier, Gregory, and Trayvon Bunch committed but hasn't signed yet. I don't know what's going on there. His coach tells me everything is fine. He will be signed, but something obviously is going on. It's probably just my hunch having to do with an academic situation of some sort. There's no reason for the kid not to have signed at this point.
Well,
so
I agree with you.
that is hanging out there. By the way, Tevin Mack will have a decision next week. His mother tells me this afternoon. 7 schools are on his list, and she has been in touch. He's been in touch. Between the 2 of them, they've been in touch with coaches from all 7 over the past couple of days. Clemson is in the mix. South Carolina is not. South Carolina apparently no longer involved with the situation with Tevin Mack. The Gamecocks are still waiting on Eric Cobb, who's going to take a visit somewhere this coming weekend and then make a decision. So they're still hanging with him. And really, outside of Eric Cobb at this particular time, I can't think of anybody else that South Carolina basketball-wise is still waiting on. Everybody else, they've either cooled off on, like Dikembe Dixon, did not really pursue him. He said that he never heard from South Carolina. That's why he narrowed his three to Alabama, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. And, of course, the other people they were in on decided to go somewhere else. Let me see if there's anybody else that I am missing here from a Gamecock standpoint at this point in time. Levi Cook, nothing's happening there. Eric Holman, nothing materialized there. That would really be it right now. Now, there was that transfer from Brown, who reportedly South Carolina had some interest in, but he visited Southern Cal last weekend. I don't know if he ended up doing anything with them or not.
My point is the way they recruit now. I know injuries come up, but you need to give yourself some wiggle room. I think, say Bunch signs, that's 12, right? Okay, now you lose, 3 seniors. That gives you some wiggle room. If you keep piling the roster every year, it's going to look like a bus station because people are going to be going in and out. I mean, why not leave a scholarship or two open and just concentrate now?
Well, because I mean, look at what happened to them this year, in the last couple of years with injuries. You know, all of a sudden you find yourself shorthanded. You know, when Blanton went down, and then Thornwell had his knee issues going on. Stroman was out a good bit. All of a sudden, they didn't have enough players to practice with. So I hear what you're saying, but you also now you could fill it out with some walk-ons and that sort of stuff. But you still want to have as many quality players as possible. Let's jump to the phone lines. 800-956-7266 is the number. Is that mean Britt McHenry on television? Was she the one that got nasty with the poor girl behind the counter? I know she was suspended, but those were some vicious
paid her pittance,
things
okay?
that she said. Oh, you're just taking up for her because she's beautiful, she's blonde, she's curvy.
It might have something to do with it.
She has some
she's nice on the inside. She had a bad day.
It seemed very nice to me based on what I saw in her.
Yeah, she had a bad day. Because I don't mind a person who's a private citizen. I don't care if they're on the air. If it's time to raise hell, if you're looking for services, I can't hold that against them. I mean, the only reason they held it against them is they had it on video.
Yeah, but I mean, what statement? Oh, okay. All right, let's jump to the phones very quickly. John in Charleston, you are up first tonight here on Sports Talk. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. Thank you. My first point, I guess, is with the basketball team. I grew up listening to the Frank McGuire coach teams back in the day. Tom Owens, Ribach, Roach, Riker. And really, talking about the basketball in this day and age is really just kind of, I don't know, kind of a letdown, to be honest. And I think Frank Martin, I think he's a heck of a guy. But I don't know, what do you think about his coaching style? Do you think the players today particularly go for his coaching style?
Yes, because some love that coaching style. They really do.
Well, you have to find the right player to fit your style. I mean, this is not a one size fits all kind of coach. He's one size fits one type of person.
Neither is Coach K.
Yeah, exactly.
As Coach Martin says, a lot of players are surprised to transfer and to find out that a lot of coaches act like I do. They just don't do it in front of people.
Well, let's talk more about that beyond his personality. Let's talk about his X's and O's. That'll be coming up. right, we're back. 800-956-7266. 800-956-7266. If you have a hard time remembering the phone number, just remember 800. That's easy enough. 956. I have no idea what you could correlate that to, but 7266 is easy. William Perry's 2 uniform numbers.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And his weight.
So,
I shouldn't have said that.
72 with the Bears, 66 with the Tigers. Wonder why he couldn't get 66 with the Bears. Obviously, somebody must have already had that.
I don't know, but here's my point. He should get any number he wanted with the Bears because the Bears had all those years with the guts not to retire Dick Butkus' number and had some guy that played on special teams wearing Dick Butkus' number. If that's not blasphemous, now I don't know what is.
All right, back to the caller talking about Frank Martin, personality, basketball style. Is it appealing to the players that he's recruiting? And you'd have to say, yeah. I mean, look, he's got P.J. Dozier, one of the best players in the country, saying yes. He got Sindarius Thornwell coming out of Oak Hill Academy, one of the best prospects in the country. He said yes. He's in the hunt with Seventh Woods, one of the best players in the 2016 class. He might say yes. So his style is appealing to a lot of good players out there. It might catch some people by surprise, and his hardcore nature might catch some people by surprise, but it shouldn't because he's the same coach that he was when he was at Kansas State. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why CBS wanted him on television that year to comment during the NCAA tournament. It's because of the stare. It's because of those antics. It's because of his big body. You know, and the thing is, as you've pointed out before, probably that what hurts him from a perception standpoint, if he were a smaller guy, acting
Coach
the same way,
for instance,
people wouldn't hardly notice, but he's so big. Mm-hmm. He really is. He's a big guy.
That's a big guy.
And his motions are the motions of a big guy. And it really stands out.
And I'll tell you what else helps is recruiting. Nowadays, a lot of these coaches, they go in, they're grad students, they worked at major programs, maybe sat on the bench or played at a major program. Frank Martin is one of those dinosaurs that you don't see much anymore, and he is a high school coach that worked up the ranks and became a major college coach. Don't think high school coaches don't like talking to a guy who's been in their shoes. Mm-hmm. And I think that helps him get open doors to kids too, because he used to be a high school coach.
So the bottom line is he is doing a good job with this recruiting class. I think that he's certainly addressing needs to his program. You look at the individuals, and like Silva's going to give him that long, lean 6'9" player who can defend the rim. Dozier's just going to give him a great player. Gregory's going to give him a guy that can stand outside supposedly and shoot it with a pretty good sized body on him at about 6'4".
And slam it down to get the crowd going.
And then, again, Bunch, we just don't know about yet. If they get him, if he does show up, you're talking about a 6'11" guy, and that's a nice place to start to build around. We'll be right back. And we are back. It is Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Here on a Tuesday night from Columbia, Phil Kornblut and the Professor Tom Hayes with you. 800-956-7266. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Up at Spartanburg, it's going to be a slugfest, looks like tonight. Yep, they didn't bring their pitching. Clemson scored 4 in the first on 3 hits. Wofford has come back to score 2 on 4 hits. They're still batting with the bases loaded and 1 man out. So it's a 4-2 Clemson lead early on Wofford, but Wofford trying to respond in a hurry.
I was about to make one other point about Frank Martin, and we'll throw Brad Brunell in this category too. If you don't know anything about the sport of basketball, but if you see both coaches, and we've seen both coaches when their teams couldn't hit the side of a barn, and yet and still both those coaches' teams guard the heck out of you. Mm-hmm. And they keep if you see teams play defense, you kind of know that the coach knows how to coach and got their attention. Because to me, especially in college basketball, playing defense is the hardest thing to get a team to do. And if they do, and when Clemson and South Carolina has hit shots, they've blown the doors off teams because they guard so much. The key point now is for both teams to get, some consistency on offense to go with that defense.
Bases loaded walk on a 3-0 pitch is 4-3. Clemson and Wofford still batting. Wofford is in the bottom of the first inning. If Clemson loses, the Tigers fall to 500 on the year. 24. They're 24-23 going in. They're facing a 32-win Wofford team tonight and a 35-win College of Charleston team tomorrow night. These are very, very dangerous times for the Clemson baseball team. With we know what happened at the end of last year and what kind of situation Jack Leggett was in by the end of last year with Dan Radakovich. At one point in time, looking as if he was ready to make a change, was going to make a change, but he took his finger off the trigger for whatever reason. And I think we were all, well, I'm not going to say we were all pleased. Maybe some fans weren't pleased, but at least in this room, we were glad to see that Jack was given another opportunity to get it right. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to make a believable argument on Jack's behalf this time. I know we can go back and cite Hall of Fame credentials and all of this sort of stuff and all the things that he's done extremely well over the years at Clemson. But right now, you cannot hide from the fact that this program is in reverse. It is clearly in reverse. And listening to Jack almost after every game, I listen to his comments. And he seems to be a coach without an answer when I listen to his comments. A lot of his answers are cliché-ish. He talks about being tough and hanging in there and being close. And I understand that. And, I get that. But he also sounds to me like a coach without an answer to why his team is where it is, which is 500 and looking at not making the NCAA tournament this year after barely making it last year. And then, being embarrassed, really, especially that Oregon game. I mean, I've never seen a Clemson team so ill-prepared to face a team as they did Oregon that day. With Oregon's speed, they ran Clemson crazy, and the Tigers responded as if they had no idea what they were getting into with Oregon. Then, of course, Xavier knocked – which one knocked him out? I think they lost to Oregon first, and then Xavier beat them in the second game. I'll let you jump in a second. Look, I want, Jack Leggett to continue to coach at Clemson for as long as he coach at Clemson. That would be my call. But we don't make that call. Dan Radakovich makes that call. And if Dan sits down and breaks it down in black and white and he says, look, Right now, they're 500. They're game over 500 last year, and right now they are what 500 in ACC play. Last year they finished a game over 500 in ACC play, and they finished at 36-25. So this year is backing up from the previous year. 2013 they won 40 games and 18 games in the league. 2012 they won 35 games and 16 games in the league. So those are even seasons. 2011 they won 43 games. 2010 they won 45 games. So you could make the argument that things have backed up with Clemson baseball, and Dan Radakovich could make that argument, and it would be hard to refute it. Unless you wanted to hang on to the historical success and the Hall of Fame credentials. Let's go back to the phones. 800-956-7266. Ronnie in North Augusta. Long time no talk to. Welcome back to Sports Talk. I hope you're doing well.
Doing well, Phil. How y'all doing tonight?
Man, we're just going to get through the next month and a half or so and get geared up for football.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. Call and talk a little football. That's about the only time I really get interested. But,
I understand. By the way, let me say this. Wofford now leads Clemson 6-4. And they're still
good.
batting. They're still batting with the bases loaded.
Well, Ronnie, I thought you went into hiding with those monstrous recruiting stories that coming out of Clemson. I thought you were going into hiding.
You can't hide. Oh, I've been around too many years. Ain't no hiding.
Well, Ronnie, I know that you think Clemson's going to go undefeated this year, but by what will be the average margin of victory for Clemson in each of their, 12 regular season games, and then the 2 playoff in their 14 games this year? What will their average winning margin be?
Well, first of all, that's the reason I'm calling. I need to get a little bit of information. I know Cockett and I, we've been breaking down a lot of film together over the summer because right now I'm just trying to find some way. I can't worry about the rest of them, but Carolina can keep them being embarrassed and hopefully stay in the game of Clemson for a quarter or so anyhow. But I haven't heard Billy from Florence call in lately, so this is where I need your help.
Okay.
Does Clemson have anybody coming out of spring that's on their depth chart going into fall? Do they have any starters that's not at least a 9 or a 10 star? They don't have any average. They don't even recruit 5 stars anymore, do they?
Well, I mean, you asked that question humorously, but if you read the people that cover their websites, I mean, I can't find a weakness in the Clemson football team. Maybe they don't quite have experienced depth to back up their starters on defense, but that's a minor issue.
Well, I'll tell you what, Cockett and I, we spotted a few. I'm not going into any details or anything, but we spotted a few weaknesses. I'm not going to give anything out.
Well, give me one. Give me one weakness you see in the Clemson football team.
Dabo Swinney.
I knew he was going to do it.
How can you say
I
that?
knew he was
Come
gonna do
on.
it.
You don't expect me to ever give him any credit for anything, do you?
Well, you're going to have to at some point in time because, I mean,
not after one win. It's going to take more than one win for me to give him credit. But I tell you what, I may even quit giving Clemson people a hard time because I really kind of had my feelings hurt this week. One of my buddies, he's one of my best friends. I mean, he's diehard Clemson like I am Carolina.
Right.
He calls me, wants me to come by. He says, Thursday's his birthday. He's going to come pick me and my wife up and take us out. He's paying for everything, wants us to go with him. And first of all, when he says he's paying, that's an indication because he's pretty cheap. I knew something was up.
Right.
He wanted to go eat some barbecue and see a movie. Like I didn't know, but Dabo Swinney is going to be in Clemson with the Uptake Club Thursday night. So I went along with him. I said, oh, yeah, I'd love to go. It took him less than 24 hours to chicken out. He actually thought that I would go over there and stand up and say something stupid and embarrass him. I can't believe people think that low of me, Phil.
Gosh, Ronnie, you've never said anything over the airwaves here to indicate that you would do anything to upset any Clemson people at any time. Wofford 7, Clemson 4. Wofford still batting in the first. time for our Braves Report tonight, brought to you by Play It Again Sports off Bauer Parkway in Columbia, where you pay less for more. By Mattress by Appointment, real simple. You call, you save 50 to 80% on premium mattress sets, 803-530-8549. And by Founders Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians attain their financial goals. And we are here to help Mike Morgan attain his financial goal because he's paid handsomely every time he comes on this program. The Braves are paid handsomely to win baseball games, but right now they are shortchanging their fans. Another bad outing last night.
Yeah, they're just not playing well in any way, shape, or form. When you get shut down for the second time against Aaron Hooray, that's not a ringing endorsement for your lineup. Pitching has not been very good either, with the exception of, you had the good performance the other night from Julio Teheran, but outside of that, pitching hasn't been real good, and the lineup has been pretty inept. They keep, mixing around the lineup, the batting order, and everything else, but the results have been the same. And now the question becomes, after that hot start, is this the real Braves team? I know it's only May, but are we looking at a team that's just going to scuffle series by series? We'll find out. It's way too early to say, but it hasn't been very encouraging the last few days, that's for sure. And,
what's really got to get under the skin of Braves fans, and we know players come and go, they are traded all the time, but in recent losses, it's been former Braves that have come back to bite, and a couple of them did it last night.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, that's the first is Dan Uggla, who you could make an argument was the worst hitter in Major League Baseball last year. He has the game of a lifetime to win a big game when they're taking off the Washington Nationals. Then last night, Jeff Francoeur, and sometimes you have to pinch yourself and say, is Francoeur still in the league? It seems like he's been out of it for the last few years, but he's bounced around from team to team. He played some minor league baseball last year and worked his way back up, and sure enough, they can't get him out last night. So when you're getting beat up by Dan Uggla and Frenchie, that's not a good sign.
All right, tonight against the Phillies, interesting scenario on the mound. Chad Billingsley makes his first appearance since 2013 after having a couple of right elbow surgeries. So here's a guy that they've seen before, I'm sure, at least some of them have, but then again, you haven't seen him for a couple of years, so you don't really know what to expect.
Well, you're absolutely right. Billingsley, even before he got hurt, quite frankly, was not that good. The last couple of years, he was pitching with the Dodgers. So I can't remember the last time Billingsley was good. It's been about 5 years, to be honest. And much like Aaron Rang, this is a guy you'd like to think that you can jump on early and knock out of the game and force the Phillies to use a less than stellar bullpen. Papelbon is great at the end, as we know, but they've got some weak spots before that point. So important for the Braves to jump off to a good start. Typically when they do that, they're in pretty good shape. They're good at protecting leads. What they're not good at is coming from behind, because there's just nothing about this offense that's very explosive. So those first 3 innings, very telling for this Atlanta squad.
You have any hope this season for, let's just say, Maben getting his average up? And, he's hitting 208 right now. He's had 4 home runs. Any chance he's going to – has he showed you any signs of being a guy that can hit 260, 275?
Fair question. I mean, Maben was a guy who was a so-called can't-miss prospect years ago. They picked up Eric Young, who had a great spring. And my response to both those guys has been this. I've seen enough of them at the major league level to know you don't normally turn from being a below-average hitter 5 years in the bigs and then all of a sudden turn the lights on and you're hitting 280. It just doesn't happen. So my answer to your question would be no. I mean, I hope he somehow finds lightning in a bottle, but I wouldn't hold my breath on him or Eric Young or some of the other guys that they're hoping all of a sudden have an incredible, not even a bounce back season, almost a out of the blue season. That's what they're looking for out of some of these guys, but I don't see it out of Maben, no.
All right, and quickly here, about 30, 45 seconds. We can't ignore what Houston is doing. My goodness, can they keep up? They can't keep up this kind of pace, can they?
They can't keep up this pace, but they can be a postseason team. They have a lot of good things. Jose Altuve is one of the most underrated players. He's about 5'6" on a good day, but you can't get him out. And he can run, and he plays great defense. You got Maxwell. I mean, you got just a number of good young players that have come through that system. Combine that with the pitching, they never surrender a lead. And so they've been counting on this for about 5 years now. It's finally all come together.
Yeah, it's really been a great start for them. You mentioned the pitching; they are deep with the pitching, and they took their lumps last year, but they are enjoying the success so far this season. Mike, thank you very much, and we'll see if the Braves can turn it around and get a good performance out of Shelby Miller tonight. Some big hits and key runs, and win a ball game against the Philadelphia Phillies. Our Braves report here on Sports Talk with Mike Morgan. We'll be back. Okay, let's give you the recruiting information here on this Tuesday night. First of all, basketball. Decision from 6'6" Dreer standout Tevin Mack should be delivered no later than next week, his mother said today. Paula Mack added that her son is still considering 7 programs, and all have been in touch with her or him in recent days: Clemson, Georgia, Texas, Kansas, UCLA, West Virginia, North Carolina. Ms. Mack said she's taken calls in the last day or two from coaches from Clemson, Kansas, Georgia, Texas, UCLA, and West Virginia. Today, Tevin Mack made another visit to Georgia. His mother said he's been there like 10 times. Of course, his older brother played for Georgia. His older brother played for Georgia coach Mark Fox when he was in Nevada. And Mack considered Georgia strongly the first time around in recruiting before he signed with VCU. On the visit, according to his mother, Mack met with the entire Georgia staff. Mack's mother said the decision will have to come next week because her son has exams the following week, and she wants this out of the way before then. She said no decision would come this week or this weekend. Football. Linebacker Trey Lamar, Roswell, Georgia, completed first round of visits to all 5 of his favorites when he went to Auburn for the spring game there April 18th. He had previously been to Clemson, Florida, Florida State, and Alabama. Those 5 remain his top schools, and he will try to visit each again this summer. He is looking at being at Clemson for the All-In Barbecue in July. You been invited to that before, the All-In Barbecue?
No.
Yeah, neither have I. So far during the spring evaluation period, recruiters from Clemson, Alabama, and Stanford have been in. Stanford was in on Monday. Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables was in to see Lamar about 2 weeks ago. So they had a very good conversation. He said Clemson, Alabama, and Auburn are recruiting him the hardest at this point. He does plan to take official visits in the fall, and he's looking at making a decision during his season or soon afterwards. There is no individual leader at this point. Defensive end Chidi Okanya of Riverdale, Georgia, is down to Clemson, Duke, Tennessee, Stanford, Ole Miss, and he will announce after his spring practice on May 15th. 2016 defensive back Gregory Ross of Oxon Hill, Maryland, was offered by Clemson. And a couple of notes on USC. New baseball recruit outfielder Dom Thompson-Williams. He's 6 feet, 185, Iowa Western Junior College. He was also a big-time football player out of Sioux City, Iowa. He was All-State in football. He was a Gatorade Baseball Player of the Year in high school his senior year. 3 times All-State in baseball. And this year hitting .405, 3 homers, and 30 RBIs for a team that is 46-5. He is a sophomore in the junior college, so he'll have 2 years to play at USC, though he will be eligible for the draft after 1 season at USC. There you go with recruiting. Top of the hour break, and we'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we are back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Update what's happening at Wofford. Wofford now up on Clemson 8-4. Terriers have added a run in the second inning. 2 are out. They've got 9 hits already, and they're still batting in the bottom of the second. Not a good night so far for the Clemson pitching staff. They have been lit up by this Wofford team. Kerner only went 2/3 of an inning, gave up 7 earned runs on 7 hits. He walked 1, faced 9 batters. Campbell has come in. He's allowed 1 earned run on 2 hits. He has faced 4 batters so far. So Wofford has doubled up Clemson 8-4, but they're only in the second inning.
This is the first by Clemson, what, about a decade?
Been a long time, yeah. Mm-hmm. And Wofford comes to Columbia tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. College of Charleston goes to Clemson. To the phones we go once again. John in Charleston has rejoined us. He had an additional question or two from his earlier call. John, it's your lucky night. You're a doubleheader visitor to Sports Talk.
Thank you very much, Phil. I appreciate that. I really do. Hey, I agree with K-Mac that, this year, is fairly dismal for most of us fans. But I'd like to say that it's actually the third year now that we've fallen off. We're on a downward slope right now.
You mean at South Carolina?
At South Carolina,
yeah.
Baseball.
Right. You could say the same thing as I was saying about Clemson, though. It's not as the evidence is not. You don't have the extended. You don't have the extended run at USC that you've got at Clemson right now. We could go back and show for several years how Clemson has gradually receded to this point. USC, you go back to when Holbrook took over, and you look at it in black and white, and you do see, took over a team that went to the World Series and lost in the championship round. Next year,
you wonder if it's coaching or recruiting.
You get to the next. You get to a super regional. You're within an out, if I remember correctly, of winning and going to Omaha. And then the next year, you host a regional, but you lose a regional at home. Something hadn't happened in a long time. And now year 3, you're battling to make the tournament. So there is definitely some backing up in the South Carolina program. Is it code? It's pretty obvious that they have made some mistakes in recruiting. And you say that, you can only base that on a player's performance. If a player doesn't perform, then you say you made a mistake in recruiting. You coach them up the best that you can. I don't think there's anything wrong with these guys as coaches. I don't think this South Carolina team. I don't think this South Carolina team is as fundamentally strong as Gamecock teams in recent years.
And a lot of these players that they've recruited, I shouldn't say a lot, but a few have been injury prone. They can't get out off the training stage.
Well, that happens, but that's part of baseball, and you have to accept it. Jamie Chadwell, Charleston Southern football, coming up. And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornbluth, the Professor Tom Hayes together on this Tuesday night. And let's talk some football. How about it? We can talk football any time of the year with any of the great coaches in our state. And tonight we welcome in Coach Jamie Chadwell from Charleston Southern to catch up on the Buccaneers spring and look ahead to, in particular, that game at Alabama in November. You already working on your game plan for the Crimson Tide, Coach?
Yeah, we're going to put in about 5 years' work to hopefully get the kickoff. That's what we're going to try to do with that one, Phil.
My goodness. Well, we'll talk about that in November and see how things are stacking up for you at that point in time. As far as your spring went, coming off another terrific year, what about the carryover from the season to spring ball? How did it go for you?
Well, it was productive. You know, we did something unique for the first time for us. We went actually early, went early February and March, and so our recall was really high because we didn't have that much time, obviously, after the season. So it went well. We've got a lot of guys returning on offense, getting guys back from injury. Defensively, had some new guys, and so that's going to be the challenge going forward, just to get them up to speed to get ready to play. But thankfully, we got through it mostly injury-free. We did have one injury that was a major concern. Gerald Turner transferred from USC. Towards ACL, but we're hoping to get him back in early October. Besides that, it went well.
God, I hate that for that young man. There he goes. He transfers, hoping to get a fresh start, and he gets hurt.
Yeah, and he ended up getting our most improved, moved into defense and played really well. It was just a little freak play in the spring game. The guy sort of messes up a block, and he lands on him, and just one of those things. He's had a good attitude. Rehab's going well, and we're pushing for early October. They feel like he can be back early October and be ready to go. So hopefully that'll be right by the time we start conference.
Where were you using him when he got hurt?
Defensive end. We're playing him at our 4 technique. We're 3-4, and he was playing at our 4 technique, our rush, like a rush in force.
Sure. All right. So on the offensive side of things, coming out of spring, did somebody emerge? As your starting quarterback, you've got 2 or 3 guys that you could work through there. Are you clear on your quarterback situation coming out of spring?
Hey, going into camp, Austin Brown, and ended up having a solid year for us. He'll be the starter going into fall there, and he's solidified by having a good spring. We're still trying to get Danny Krogan back off his injuries. He's not completely back. It's been a while for him to get healthy. And then Kyle Copeland, who played as a freshman 2 years ago, we redshirted last year, had a good spring as well. So we feel good about the people we have there. But Austin definitely going into camp, and as of right now going into the season, will be our number 1 guy. And the team knows that, and everybody's rallied around him for that position.
What growth did he show you in the spring?
Well, I think first and foremost, he just had so much of a better understanding of the offense, and so he was able to use his leadership abilities more that he possesses this spring than maybe any time during the fall. During the fall, I think he was still swimming a lot, just seeing different things. And his talent was able for him to play pretty well, maybe not his knowledge as much. And now he's putting all that together. And so I expect him to have a really good year because he's so much more comfortable.
Do you change very much in your offense because he's been with you now a full year and now another spring? And like you said, he is more comfortable. Do you change anything to maybe better suit what he does, his strengths?
We're going to gear it toward him a little bit. Obviously, last year, our plan was to do that. We had so much injuries at wide receiver that we couldn't afford to do it. Now we've got some guys back, and we feel like we can do a little bit more things that make him showcase his skills better. And so that's what we worked on this spring, and it went pretty well. So we're excited about the potential we could have there.
Did you find a replacement for Christian Reyes coming out of your backfield since his career is now over?
Well, I don't know if you can replace all the things that he did from obviously running the ball, but some other things that he did. We've got some good young backs that we feel good about that have played well for us. But for everything that he does, it's going to be hard. We'll have to do it by committee. Guys, you won't see us probably have a guy who's going to rush the ball 25, 30 times a game like he did. They'll be spread out a lot more. And we're going to miss him for sure. But our guys are, anytime you lose somebody that everybody knows is a great player, you have young guys that are excited to show what they're worth. And this spring was a good case of that. We had some guys really step up.
It's hard when you look at an FCS team and you play in your season. You play FBS teams like you finished up against Georgia, and you got beat 55-9. I mean, that just skews everything about your stats. So that aside, that Georgia game aside, defensively, did you feel like you had a pretty good year defensively, or this spring did you feel like you had to make a lot of improvement and some major adjustments on the defensive side?
No, I think our defense played really well for all year long. Obviously, you take the Georgia out, and we had our defense didn't have a good game versus Charlotte. North Carolina Charlotte really took it to us there, but for the most part, they played really well, and we had to rely on them really early, at least to give our offense a chance to get going. And so we've had to tweak a little bit this spring because we lost 7 starters, most of those in the front 7. And so you've got newer guys, young guys, and so we really had to scale back things that we do and really try to teach them how to play just some base things. We're going to be probably starting, I would say, anywhere from 5 to 7 redshirt freshmen this year. And so we're going to be very, very young there. And so we went back to maybe some basic stuff to get them where they're comfortable doing some stuff. But I have no doubt that by the time we need to be, they'll be ready to go because there's, when you've had success on defense, you got a lot of pride. And so hopefully you're not rebuilding. You try to have that mindset of reloading. Those guys have to have that confidence going in. And so we're looking forward to seeing how they step up with their chance now.
You're off to an incredible start in your 2 years at Charleston Southern. You've come up just short of making the playoffs both years. This team coming up, 2015, could this be a team you think that can make the postseason?
I believe that hardly. Obviously that's a ways away. We don't state certain goals in our program. What we try to focus on when we got here is just each week was try to be the champion each week, and that's really helped us. But I feel like we put ourselves in position. We've been close, and we just knocked on the door and can't get it open. But I think our guys have felt that, and especially this past year, we were real close. A couple things go our way there. And so I think our guys have had to use that as motivation this off season to know we just got to continue to prove. So I believe wholeheartedly we have that type of team coming back, talent-wise, character-wise. Now, whether we can put that all together over, a 10-game, take Alabama out of the equation over a 10-game schedule remain to be seen. But I feel good about where we're going and what we've done so far to our kids prepare themselves for that and that mindset.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, I hate it for you guys that have to play these money games, especially against powerhouses. I mean, you had a really good finish to your year last year until you went to Athens and you get beat, and you have to kind of live with that. That's the last taste in your mouth for your senior team was that drubbing in Athens, and it's because you'd won I think 3 games in a row prior to that.
We had, and you beat Liberty for the first time in 8-9 years at 3rd place, and you come off that high, and then you go into there, and you're feeling good about yourself. But you're also realistic, And so it's a little disappointing, but I'd rather, preference-wise, I think I would rather play them at the end than at the beginning. At least you feel like you got a legitimate shot to win a first game of the year instead of going in and and starting 0-1. I think I'd rather be the other way. That way, you can almost treat it as like a bowl game or some of those things. For us, we played 2 last year. We played Vanderbilt as well, and then this year we got Troy, so we got 2 again this year. Troy's a little bit more I think we're capable of playing with them, so you don't look at that as 2 big-time BCSs. But it's part of what we have to do, Phil, to get where we need to go facility-wise to keep our program consistently where we want it to be in the top 20 and competing for a playoff spot in the Big South Championship. That's how we have to do things. We understand that. Our kids understand it, and we talk to them about it. Hey, we're doing this because we're going to get this. We're installing new field turf this summer. We're redoing the stadium. That's all part of Alabama and Troy and future people. So there's a benefit to those things. Sometimes you don't see it on that scoreboard, obviously, and how your kids feel, but there is an overall benefit, and we understand that with where we're at in our program.
Coach, as always, we thank you so much for being with us. Jamie Chadwell from Charleston Southern. Back in a moment. Yeah, thanks to Jamie Chadwell for being with us here tonight on Sports Talk as we continue to take you around the state to talk to coaches. By the way, tomorrow night, here in our studio, Ron Morris, who will be leaving the state newspaper at the end of this week, longtime columnist and writer and assistant editor, and had his hands in a lot of different things over there.
Steve Spurrier, sparring partner.
He'll be in studio with us to talk about his future, his past, his current. We'll talk with him about that. Thursday night, Ellis Johnson will join us here on Sports Talk, former USC and most recently Auburn defensive coordinator, looking for a job. But we'll be moving back to Columbia here in the summer, and we'll set up home here and stay here, but still look for a job in coaching. He's not ready to hang up the cleats just yet. He wants to continue to coach.
He probably still carries a laptop around with his game plans in it. He likes to look at time to time. Ron Morris, of course, we'll talk to him tomorrow. He had several years of covering Duke, didn't he? When
Sure
he
did.
Worked up in Durham.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
worked for the Durham newspaper. That's where he and Spurrier first met up, and they had a good relationship. They had a good relationship most of their time together until that incident related to Bruce Ellington, and Spurrier blew up over it, and the two have never been able to reconcile one-on-one, as far as I know. We'll find out more from Ron about that tomorrow night. We mentioned last night, of course, what had happened over at the state newspaper again, and sorry and sad to hear about what's happening in their sports department and their news department. Newspapers, by and large, across the country, many of them having a hard time trying to figure out a way to sell papers in competition with themselves and others on the internet. That's the thing. You're competing against yourself when you're – but I'll say, here's a bit of advice for the state newspaper that I have for you. Get your dang racks to work. I stopped by my favorite rack last night on the way home, coming back, and, it's $1. Oh, my God. I just wanted to take a baseball bat to it. And I repeatedly put 4 quarters in. I'm spending $1 for a Monday paper to read it at midnight, okay? Because I like to read a newspaper. I don't care what time of day it is. I like to read a newspaper. And no, I don't like to go online. I like to have the newspaper in my hand. Yes, I like to look at a newspaper. So I stop where I get my newspaper on the way home. There's a paper in there for Monday. It has the warning on there. Please don't, steal. Don't take more than one. I'm good about that. Put my quarters in, and the damn thing would not open. I and about the 4th or 5th time that I did it, instead of spitting back 4 quarters, it only spat back 3. So it took a quarter and didn't give me my paper. And they wonder why they're going out of business.
Oh,
I mean, at least get the racks to work. Well, I was really ticked off.
I will say this.
Then I went to my second place to get one, and it was sold out.
And it was sold out, yeah. The one thing about newspapers is, and I know we've got a generation now coming up that probably never even looked at a newspaper. They read it online. In fact, my sister lives in Washington State, where the intelligentsia in Seattle dumped and is only online for the last, I think, 7, 8 years.
We'll be right back. right, let's update the baseball. Wofford leads Clemson 8-4, and they're playing in the top of the fourth inning. That game is at Wofford, 8-9-2 for the Terriers, 4-5-0 for the Tigers. And the Braves off to a 2-0 lead over the Phillies, thanks to a 2-run homer from Freddie Freeman. Okay, so there you go. Up to date on baseball. Big day at Talladega Sunday. It's always big when Junior wins. And, you know, he won a race that I would say was, from my seat, less than thrilling the way it finished up. Let's welcome in from Darlington Raceway, Chip Wild, the president, who I think was in Talladega for the race.
Yes, sir, I was. I was there for the whole weekend. Talladega does a fantastic job, and anybody who says that NASCAR isn't back, look at the crowd on Sunday. What a crowd they had there, and the biggest driver, the most popular driver, got a really popular win.
Oh, no question about that. And yes, the stands were packed, no doubt about that. Watching the race from where I was in front of my television, you know, they got kind of strung out there over the last 20, 30 laps. They were racing single file. We didn't see the big pack racing and 2, 3, sometimes I don't want to say 4 wide, but sometimes I think maybe they get 4 wide or close to it. We didn't see that over the last 10, 15 laps. Why was that?
You know, I don't know the answer. I was shocked too, because if you saw early in the race, teams and drivers would kind of size up the competition. They would dive to the bottom and form a line and see, you know, how long it takes for them to get to the front, who they could work with. So, you know, in my mind, I was thinking, okay, well, what they're doing is they're gaining some knowledge and putting together a plan to strike late in the race. And if you looked at, you know, Tony Stewart, Danica Patrick, Ryan Newman late in the race, they all tried to dive to the bottom, but nobody go with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then, you know, if you're in the top 5 or 6, is it smart to dive to the bottom and take a chance and know that if nobody goes with you, you're going to finish 30th, or just kind of ride around and see if somebody is going to take a shot? You know, Ryan Blaney, who finished 4th, running 3rd with 1 to go, he's a rookie, kind of an unknown, so that kind of put a different wrinkle in people's plan, because first time, or actually second time at Talladega, but first time running inside the top 5. You know, somebody willing to take a chance and go with him to the bottom, obviously not. So, sure. All in all, I'm with you. It was a lackluster race when it comes to, you know, the last couple of laps, but they're going to win and lock themselves into the chase. So it's good for the sport.
Sure.
Interesting in the post race with Dale Jr. Haven't seen Dale too often opine or talk about his dad, but he got real, you know, emotional after the race, winning the race. Your feelings about him, is that because he's getting kind of older, or he's thinking about this is the track where his dad, I guess, had a record winning 10 times?
I think a little bit of both. I think Dale, as he's gotten older and he went through a really tough time not winning races for a number of years, he realizes that every race win is special. And it's so hard to get to victory lane at the Sprint Series level that you need to enjoy them all. And Talladega was a place that was really near and dear to Dale Sr.'s heart. You know, it was one of those places he had a ton of success. People said he'd see the air, he knew where to put the car, and was aggressive. So I think it was emotional on a number of fronts. His dad's birthday was last week, so it was a feel-good win. It was good for our sport. It was good to see Dale up front. Greg Ives, the crew chief, got his first win as a Sprint Cup Series crew chief, and that's always exciting. So a lot of positives to take away from the weekend, and I'm glad that we don't have to talk about when Dale Jr. is going to make the chase.
Yeah,
now we know he's in.
You know, and he repeatedly said after the race in various interviews that he's in a good place. He's in a good place in his life. He's in a good place in his career. You know him well. How far away was he at one time from being in that good place in his life, both in terms of his career and his personal life? Yeah,
I mean, I've known Dale a long time, and when he first sprung onto the spring or onto this, he was a kid, and they're throwing a lot of money at him, and I think he took advantage of that notoriety, and didn't understand what his responsibility was to the sport, being the most popular driver. And you got to remember, he lost his dad as a kid. I mean, he lost his dad at 30 years old, 28 years old, and that's hard to do. So he's had to do a lot of growing up. And the Dale Jr. that we all know and love now certainly is a far cry from the Dale Jr. That got to the Sprint Cup Series in 2001. He understands his role and plays it so well. He understands how important he is to the success of our sport. And he's embraced that. And he's very careful about his brand. And he makes sure that he aligns himself with companies and with partners that make sense. That can not only help them, but help grow our sport.
Mm-hmm.
And he is, I'm telling you, Phil, he's a great person, both onside, both inside the racetrack and away from the racetrack.
It certainly seems like it. Now, another topic, listening to NASCAR radio last week, this came up, and that is I think they were interviewing Jack Roush, and they were talking about shortening races. And I think he talked in the positive that this is something that is being talked about and could happen. In fact, he mentioned the 600 being shortened to 500, and then your 500s being shortened to 400s, et cetera, et cetera. So are we going to see a Southern 400 in the years to come after this year?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's always talk about changing things. There are 4 really big key races in the season. Obviously, the Daytona 500 kicked it off at the Super Bowl of our sport. The Coke 600 has been around, and it's the endurance race, right? I mean, it's the one that everybody has to prepare for. That extra 100 miles is a doozy. And then you have the Indy Brickyard 400, and then you have the Bojangles Southern 500. And those are 4 staple races in our season before you get to the chase and head towards Homestead. And so I don't envision us making any significant changes. You know, NASCAR is smart. We went to Dover and used to run 500 miles. Now they run 400 miles. We used to run 600 miles. In fact, they did it once at Michigan, and they backed it down to 400. So I think we're kind of in our sweet spot. Would it be nice for the race teams to have a little bit less on-track activity? Sure. But we got to give these race fans what they want, and they want to come see cars battle for 400, 500, and 600 miles, and so that's what, in my eyes, I think that's what we should continue to do.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with your assessment of the 4 races you mentioned, but you would put the Southern 500 in there over the spring race at Talladega.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think 188 laps, or if you did the math, it'd be like 150 laps, right?
Mm-hmm.
It really doesn't matter at that point. I mean, back in the day when they started running these long miles, is just to show the longevity of these motors. And as we all know, there's not as many motor failures anymore. RCR struggled with it a little bit this year, but for the most part, these guys have done such an incredible job building these motors to last. So it's not about the motors staying together. It's just, how much time do people want to spend watching a race on TV or at the racetrack? And I think a lot of, if you polled our race fans, I think they would say overwhelmingly, we like the distance. We like the distance.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know where it's coming from. I've heard it a couple times as well this week, but I'd be surprised if NASCAR makes any real big changes.
Chip, as always, we enjoy the visit. Have a great week. We're going to Kansas this weekend, and we'll talk about it with you next Tuesday night.
All right, Phil. Thanks, buddy. Have a good week.
You too, my friend. Thank you. Chip Weil, of course, president of Darlington Raceway, and Labor Day will be here before we know it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good gracious, we're already – this is Cinco de Mayo on my calendar. How about your state, man? Is it Cinco de Mayo? Did you?
That's correct. Me too.
Yeah. Did you celebrate in any particular manner? Did you recognize Cinco de Mayo?
Honestly, I didn't even realize it was Cinco de Mayo, no joke, until maybe 15 minutes ago when I saw it on the internet perusing.
Yeah.
I forgot about it.
Yeah. That reminds me of the question, is there a 4th of July in Great Britain? Of course there is. There's a 3rd, a 4th, and a 5th, and 6th. Pro's looking at me stunned. I think I got him on this one. Yeah. We'll be right back.
It's not just a different place. You are different.
You are stepping into a world you don't understand. You're gonna want to see this.
Tiger, maybe just start with how it feels to be back here at TPC Sawgrass, two-time champion as the players, and welcome back after.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it feels good. A little bit surprised how.
Tiger, maybe just start with how it feels to be back here at TPC Sawgrass, two-time champion as the players, and welcome back after.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Clemson has put 3 on the board in the fourth. This game is going to take forever to play. It's 8-7, top of the fourth. Wofford leading Clemson.
Oh, man.
And Krieger, 2-run steal for the Tigers. It's part of this rally. So Tigers scored 4 in the first. They've scored 3 in the fourth. Wofford scored 7 in the first, 1 in the second. And there's a lot more runs to be plated in this one, it looks like. 8-7 Wofford leading Clemson. They're only in the top of the fourth. Players' Championship comes tomorrow. Some like to call it, Thursday. Practice rounds today and tomorrow, and first round Thursday in Jacksonville, Ponte Vedra. Some like to call it the fifth major. It does have an elite field, of course. Tiger Woods is back, his first action since the Masters, but there's been a lot going on in his life, of course, since Augusta. And he met with the media this afternoon at Ponte Vedra to talk about being back and some other things.
Yeah, it feels good to be out there. I was a little bit surprised at how soft the golf course was, and greens are obviously slow as of now. It's only Tuesday, but I'm sure they'll speed up and the golf course will get faster. But I was very surprised to see it's playing more than how it was back in, I guess, March. It was very soft and very, very wet as of now.
A bit rusty out there?
A little bit. More than anything, just a little bit tired. But I think that I got 2 days to going to get ready for Thursday, and plus a late tee time helps.
Tiger, I know you weren't here last year when they had some difficulties with the greens. But
yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
Outside of the softness you were talking about, what's the conditioning of the surfaces where you?
There are a couple little patchy spots out there, but I think that what they're trying to do is let them fill in. I think that's why they're leaving them up a little bit. That's why they put some water on them, keep them soft, trying to fill in the spots. The putting green didn't look very good, so I thought the golf course might look that way, but it was actually decent, and I think it'll fill in, and then they'll start, I'm sure, by the tournament time, start drying them out.
Tiger, you had some momentum going at the Masters a month ago. Can you build on that momentum a month later without playing in between?
I'd like to say yes. I've had some pretty good practice sessions. My short game still feels really good, and we made a couple little swing tweaks since then to keep improving, to keep working on it, to keep getting it better. And so that part's still a little bit fresh. I'm going to start playing a little bit more now since I'm in some of these events now, not like last week. So I'm able to start playing a regular schedule now and start getting after it.
What's the best thing you took out?
I think the best thing is to take what I was at, Phoenix and Torrey, to go from there to, fifth place going the last day on Sunday, to go with all the problems I had with my short game, all the problems I had with my swing, to put all that and get it to where it was, good enough to give myself a chance. If I played a good front nine, I might have had a chance going in the back nine. To go from where I was to being in contention like that was a big step. Unfortunately, I didn't make the putts on Sunday early, and I also missed a few out there during the first 3 days that certainly would have helped. What's that?
Where do you think you are now?
As I said, some of the swing changes we've made are a little bit fresh, so that's going to take a little more time. But I'm very, very happy with my short game and the way it's at, and the way I'm putting, the way I'm feeling. As I said, to go what I was at Torrey and what I was at Phoenix, to go from there to where I'm at now.
You said you're happy with your short game.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because you're happy that it's not what it was, or are you happy because it is what it used to be?
Well, I'm happy that I'm able to now bottom in any spot I want. I'm able to find it, and it doesn't really matter the lie. I'm able to find the bottom. So able to use the bounce correctly.
Tiger, what are your memories of Calvin Peete growing up as a kid?
Yeah.
And even though his numbers don't equate with most with golfing credentials, do you think his circumstance warrant maybe him getting consideration for that?
I think what he did was truly incredible. I mean, was armed the way it was, and obviously that's a physical impairment. He was never going to create power, and this is a person that, I mean, God, he hit it straight. It was ungodly how straight he hit it. The ball just didn't move. And this is back in the old Blotted days when the ball did curve a lot, and his ball never curved. I mean, there's a stat that I don't think not too many people are aware of. At Muirfield Village, he didn't miss a fairway for 2.5 years.
All right, Tiger will play in the opening round with Adam Scott and Martin Keimer. That's a very good grouping to start things off with. There's some other very good groupings as well. Back in a moment. Tiger went on to say that he has not. Somebody just hit a 3-run homer for the Braves, by the way. 6-0. Is that Johnson?
Kelly Johnson has off the scrap heap, and he's got 6 home runs this year.
Yeah, he just hit a 3-run dong for the Bravos, so they're up 6-0. They're what, third or fourth inning? Tiger went on to say in his media session today that he hadn't slept very much at all since the breakup with Lindsey Vonn, which was announced on Sunday. So obviously he's got his personal matters hanging over him. Sometimes when that happens, an athlete, when he has an issue going on, it forces him to focus on the task at hand, and he'll go out and have a great performance. Kobe Bryant's the master at shutting off the outside world. What? I'm giving him a compliment.
Oh, yeah. It's backhanded, but
I'm giving him a compliment. He's the master of shutting out, the stuff flying around him and going out and having a great performance. So we'll see if Tiger can manufacture that on Thursday. I was going to say, I mentioned that his grouping, they play in threesomes in this tournament. As most tournaments, I guess the Masters are in the first 2 rounds we're talking about, Masters being the exception to that. But he's in an excellent grouping. Ben Martin will play with Rory Sabatini and Stuart Sink. The really big threesome that I saw here was, Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, and Jason Day. That should be exciting to watch. Bubba Watson and Billy Horschel and Matt Kuchar will play together the first 2 days. So the players, I love the way the PGA Tour has its schedule arranged, because you have even though the Players is not a major, it's an important tournament. So we won't call it a major, but you have major or important tournament for 5 consecutive months. You have Augusta in April. You have the Players in May. In June, you have the U.S. Open. In July, you have the British Open. And in August, you have the PGA Championship. And then, after that, you get to your playoffs, and every couple of years you have the Ryder Cup. So I like that, though. I like every month here in golf season having that big tournament to look forward to. Okay. Update Clemson and Wofford. Wofford still leads 8-7. Terriers are batting in the Terriers are batting in the bottom of the 4th. They have the bases loaded and no one out.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my goodness. Let's see. How did this happen? A walk, a single, a hit by pitch, and you have your bases loaded. So Tiger pitching really scuffling tonight, as is Wofford pitching for the most part. 8-7 Wofford over Clemson. All right, tomorrow night, Ron Morris will be here. Look forward to having him with us here in studio for as long as he wants to be here. And we'll have some other good stuff for you as well. Thank you, Pro. Thank you, State Man. Thanks to all of you for hanging in there with us on a Tuesday night. We really appreciate you. And we'll see you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.